All right, let's jump back into our look at the evolution of the world's most influential databases. Today, we're digging into a really crucial release from back in July 2020, MongoDB 4.4. Now, this wasn't one of those versions that shouted from the rooftops with flashy new features. Now, this was more of a quiet revolution, a moment of serious refinement, and a huge step in the platform's journey.
Yeah, this quote, it really nails it. The whole point of the 4.4 release wasn't about changing what MongoDB was, it was all about perfecting how it worked. Making deep, meaningful improvements under the hood that really solidified the platform for the kind of tough, demanding workloads it was starting to handle.
So let's start with the people who are in the trenches, writing the code every single day, the developers. We're going to see how this update made their jobs more efficient, way more flexible, and ultimately just gave them more power to build cool stuff.
Okay, before we get into one of the biggest changes, we've got to get on the same page about a core concept, the shard key. So in a nutshell, when your database gets way too big for just one server, you shard it. You split it across many servers. And the shard key? That's just the rule MongoDB uses to decide which piece of data goes to which server. Getting this right is, and I mean this, absolutely critical for performance.
And this right here, this illustrates the massive headache developers used to have. Before version 4.4, picking that shard key was a permanent decision. You were locked in. And if your app's data patterns changed over time, which, let's be honest, they always do, you were just stuck. But with 4.4, developers were finally handed the keys to the kingdom. Refinable keys were a total game changer. It meant you could add new fields later to adapt to how your data actually looked, improving distribution. It was a huge win for long-term flexibility.
So flexibility is awesome, but in the database world, speed is king. And it's not just about being fast sometimes, it's about being predictably fast every single time. And that was the next major mountain that version 4.4 set out to climb.
And the solution was this really clever feature called hedged reads. The logic is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. When you ask for some data, instead of just asking one server, MongoDB sends the same request to multiple copies, or replicas, at the exact same time. It basically creates a race. And here's the kicker. Whichever replica responds first is the one that gives you the data. So you always get the fastest possible response because you're hedging against a random slowdown on any one machine. Pretty smart, right?
Now, this same level of refinement was also brought to the aggregation pipeline. That's where developers are transforming and combining data. And this area got a massive power-up. For the first time, you could easily union data from different collections. You could even build your own custom logic right inside a query with accumulators. You combine that with better memory management and much clearer diagnostics on how your queries are running, and you've given developers just an unbelievable amount of control.
So, developers got a fantastic new set of tools. But a database isn't just about writing code, is it? It's about running that code reliably, 24/7. This next part is all about the operations teams, the folks who are on the hook for keeping the lights on.
So here's the classic high-stakes question that keeps ops teams awake at night. You've got a new cluster of servers, or maybe a new software version, and you have to know if it can handle the pressure of real-world traffic. But how do you do that without just pointing your actual users at it and praying you don't cause a massive outage?
And the answer they came up with was another incredibly elegant feature, mirrored reads. This allowed an ops team to take a sample of live production traffic and secretly forward a copy of it to a secondary test cluster. Your users, their requests are served by the primary cluster just like always, so their experience is completely unaffected. But in the background, your new setup gets a full workout with real traffic. This lets teams test their changes with super high confidence and, most importantly, with zero risk.
And that wasn't the only new tool they dropped into the Ops Toolkit. A new resharding preview gave teams a crystal ball, letting them see the potential impact of changing their data distribution before they committed to it. The integration with the Atlas Cloud platform got even tighter, and the system's own health monitoring got a whole lot better. The theme here was clear. Give the operations teams more foresight and more control.
So when you bring all of these different pieces together, the sharper tools for developers and all these new safety nets for operations, you start to realize you're looking at something much bigger than just another version number. You're looking at a statement about where the platform was headed.
And this, right here, is the core takeaway. MongoDB 4.4 was all about maturity. It was a very deliberate shift to focus on the hard, maybe less glamorous features that are absolutely essential for mission-critical, enterprise-level applications. It was about delivering the stability, the predictability, and the manageability that big organizations absolutely demand.
And this really leaves us with a fascinating final thought, one that applies to way more than just MongoDB. This release is a perfect case study of a technology making that transition from a fast-moving disruptor to an established, reliable pillar of the industry. So the question we can all think about is, how does any technology make that critical journey, adding all those necessary layers of maturity without losing that innovative spark that made it so exciting in the first place? Thanks for joining me on this one.